It is watercolor time, and today we are going to be painting these beautiful orchids. Now, I'm gonna not do this orchid back here or the one back here. I'm focusing on this bloom, this one, and a few of these petals over here. We will do the stem and we'll do a dark background as well. So you can download this reference photo, trace it, and then paint along with me. So let's go ahead and get started. Today I've traced it out, so you're gonna wanna go ahead and trace this out as well. And I'm using Winsor & Newton 24 pan I've added a few colors in here in the middle as well. I like to use the Princeton Heritage series. For my brushes, I have a round 16, a round 6, a round 2, and I also have a black velvet 1 that I may or may not be using. We'll just have to see. So those are what I like to use when it comes to brushes. Have your reference photo handy. I like to have it very close to what I'm doing. And in watercolor, remember, we are moving from light to dark. You cannot always go lighter. It is harder to go dark. Now, there is a lot of white in these petals, and I think that we'll preserve the white by just not painting anything that particular color. What we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get this pink, red, rose, violet color. I have a feeling that we'll be able to mix this color with our Winsor violet and our permanent rose. So I'm going to go ahead and mix that color with my round 6 here on the tray. I believe I have a little bit already kind of on violet on my tray, my mixing tray, and I'm going to just pick up a little permanent rose and I'm going to get that on my brush. I'm going to begin to bring this color into any of the places that I see it happening. And now that I've got it on my paper, I see it's a little bit more violet than red, and I just added a little bit more red. So I see that coming around in here. And this color comes out here. And through here. And I'm moving it here. I see a little bit of that color poking through back here. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring that in. And I see a little bit back here on the back petal in the back. And it's much, much lighter, but it's also here. So I'm gonna just see if I can bring that in back here as well. And I'm just looking for anywhere I see that happening on my paper. So can you see this happening right here? That's where we're going to be moving it in. So let's see. Just moving that in. Got it over here as well. I see a little bit peeking out through here. And up along this side and peeking in through here. That color is over here as well. And it's coming up this side. And for sure over here. Just checking to see if I'm missing anything. There is a little poking back over here that I see as well. Maybe right here. Okay, now with these orchids, you can see these spots that are yellow in here, maybe a little bit in here. There's a little yellow in here. And so I want to get yellow. I have the yellow already on my palette, and I'm just going to add a little bit more water, bring that back in. And I'm going to, anywhere I see yellow, I'm going to bring in the yellow. I do see light yellow right here in the stem. I'm going to go ahead and add that in. And I see that happening over here on this little part of the flower, the bloom. I definitely have some yellow here and some yellow here. So maybe a little yellow here. Got yellow along the edges over here and right here. I see that yellow along this edge right here. A little bit in the middle. Right here too. And here. There's a little yellow happening in this spot. I need to bring in the yellow that's happening right here. Do you see it? Okay, so these are, we're just getting the color down. We're getting that very first layer of color down right now as we speak. We're getting the different layers down. Now I get to make a decision about the background color. I can work on the background while that's drying. Now we can do a lot of different things. I will use my round 16, my Windsor blue, and I've got a lot of water happening here, and that's the background color that I'm going to bring in while and I may even darken it up, but I just want to play with this color and see what this background color of this light blue. It is the Windsor blue, just quite a bit of water, higher water to pigment ratio. I'm holding my brush a little too far up on the handle right there. I don't know if you saw that. I was like way up here. I don't really want to do that. I don't have as much control with the brush. I know that will sound maybe a little counterintuitive, but I actually have more control on the brush if I hold it further away from that nice little brush tip that I have. I mean, in some places, it just is, I need to get closer up. And you'll find what works for you. I don't like to say this is the hard and fast way that you need to hold your brush. No, no, no. You need to find where can you get the most control. Now, some people really definitely have certain ways that they've learned and it works for them to do that. And that's fine. I'm a little bit more self-taught and have had the pleasure and of being able to kind of experiment for myself. And I think that is a wonderful thing when you can just experiment for yourself. What works for you, huh? You'll figure it out. You'll start to see where you have the most control. Where do you want to hold this brush to give yourself the most control over what you're doing? This blue is so pretty. This yellow is still wet and I don't want to touch my blue to that yellow, so I'm going to be really careful. I can always come back in there and get a little closer to the edge, but I don't want to turn it green, so I'm just going to be very ginger with how I work around that area. There's a little blue back here. I think while we're waiting for some places to dry, what we can start to do is there's this brilliant red that's happening right here and in some of these other spots that I think it would behoove us to start to try to bring those in. I'm going to use the crimson red on that. This is the crimson red, and I'm going to add a little regular red to it. It is really a brilliant red. What I want to do is bring it in here. There's a highlight in the middle and I'm going to leave that highlight. I always pencil in the highlights so I don't mess them up. And by mess them up, I mean paint over them. I want to make sure I'm leaving the highlight. It goes from that crimson, that dark crimson red, into the pink on some of these. So I think that that's going to be a little tricky, but we're going to play with it, okay? So I put that in. Now I'm going to rinse off my brush. I'm going to pick up my permanent rose and get it a little wet. And I'm going to drop that permanent rose up here at the top so that it will hopefully kind of bleed in. You'll be able to see the difference in the color there. Now I want to pick back up with that crimson red mixture and come back over here where I see the orchid color happening. Oh, it's, you know, I'm gonna let it mix in there. That's fine. We'll see what happens. You know, part of the fun of watercolor is when those happy little accidents happen. And I think that's gonna really mix itself into something beautiful. So I'm gonna let it happen. Now I'm picking up this permanent rose, the pink, and getting it a little watery, a little wet. And I do want to bring that in right here. And just kind of bring that around up in here. And we're gonna let that dry. But while that's drying, I wanna go to some of these other places. I wanna get a really, almost like a Payne's gray, but more shadow for these shadows that I'm seeing right here. Do you see it? I'm just really trying to show where there's shadow. There's this shadow right here that I see, and it is very strongly another something over top of one of our flowers, and a dark blue-ish. So this next one is like a blue-green shadow. It's pretty light, and it is over here kind of on this left-hand side, and I want to bring that in. And you know what? We're right now in that place. I can feel it. Do you know what I'm going to tell you? We are in that place that is the messy middle. This is the place where every painting hangs out for a little while. You think, is it ever going to turn into anything? Yes. I'm here to tell you it will. It's okay. It will get there. So you can see we've brought in these nice little shadows here. There's kind of a reddish pinkish shadow happening back here. And again, I want to be careful on what I touch, but I do see that shadow happening. So I'm just bringing that in back there. There's also a shadow right here. I think I'm gonna have to darken up the background because what I see happening is that there's not enough contrast. So I think I am gonna go into a dark blue, green, black color is what I'm gonna mix, because what we have down here is just not enough contrast, and we need the contrast to make it. So I'm going to do more of what I see to give the contrast that we need. And this is fun because we put down the blue first. It really is going to kind of give it like an atmospheric feeling of green back there, and I'll even add some really dark hues in certain places, and it will be just a really good contrast. So feel free to play with the background. Notice what works for you, what works for what you're trying to achieve. And, playing and experimenting is so much fun, and it's purely really a part of the process. Sometimes you don't know how these are going to go, and you just have to trust. You have to trust and be willing to keep going when you're not sure the picture is taking you. I am not entirely sure where this picture is taking me right now, and that's something that's important for you to know, I believe, especially if you are a beginner. I've been painting now almost every day, really, for quite a while, since the early days of the pandemic, so 2020-ish. You gotta think, and I have now put in hundreds of hours of painting, and you don't always know if you can do it when you start out with a painting. This is about process, and you have to really allow yourself to become absorbed in and enjoy the process. At the end of the day, you will have some paintings that you love, some paintings that are meh, and some paintings that you really don't like. And it is just a piece of paper. And when you are learning, you're going to have a lot, and even beyond, learning and beyond, you are going to have lots of paintings that are really incredible and beautiful, and then you're gonna have paintings that you want to throw out, and that's fine. I think it's important to, I like to keep, I very, very rarely throw out a painting because it shows me what I've been learning, where I have room to grow, what I could do differently. And I've said this before, it's one of those things, one of those mantras that I will just repeat over and over again. A lot of times what happens is students just quit before they have added enough detail. So depending on where you end a particular painting is really going to affect the quality of the painting. And the more details that you can add, the better it's really going to become. So, you know, we're getting there with this one, but it is still really in the messy middle. And if we were to stop here, I would not consider this done. I wouldn't consider it a piece that I think is particularly beautiful to my eyes. It is just, you know, it's right now it's blah, a little blah, but I know that what's going to happen is we are going to hit a point where we've added enough detail where it is really taken shape. While the background is drying, there are places that I can begin adding in detail. There is this particular leaf right here, where there's some pink back in there that I didn't yet get. So I see a little bit of pink in there and right here. So adding that in, and kind of see that in here as well. And maybe there's a little bit of that in there. So I want to see where can I bring in that permanent rose color that I see. Where can I bring that in? I'm filling in some of these places where I see a lighter pink and kind of see that here as well. And we've got this kind of purplish blue happening right here. It is certainly a shadow that's happening back here. I'm going to bring a shadow in right here. Let's see, I see this happening right here. Yeah, there we go. That's a nice little shadow. A little bit of a shadow over here. Now I do want to address the stems, and these stems in the Winsor and Newton, I believe I have a sap green happening right here. And I want to make it a really strong, crisp line of sap green. And right here, this one I'm going to darken up because it is a darker stem in that reference photo. But for now, we're going to just bring in this first color and see what happens. There we go. That is beautiful, and it's beginning to come together. And so we are getting there with these orchids. It's still in that messy phase. There's still a lot going on, but it's beginning to take shape. Over here, I see my reference photo is way more pink than like a violet pink lavender color than I have down here. And I want to bring that in. It's almost a magenta, right? Oh yeah, magenta. That's what we're going for. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm having so much fun with this magenta color, and it is, I should have probably started with that, but sometimes that's fun to just kind of let the color reveal itself to you. Here, bring it in here, and then, you know, we get that back splash of the pink, and that's good too, you know. So I'm bringing in the magenta where I see it very strongly happening. Now, do you see how it has started to come out of that messy middle phase by bringing these colors in? Layer upon layer, I see the actual picture emerging now as we get these stronger details happening. And it's beautiful to begin to see them happening. There's some places where there's some yellow that I didn't quite capture the way I wanted to capture, and I do want to bring in that yellow. Do you see it here? I'm bringing it in here, and I want to just sharpen up the yellow in here, and I want to sharpen up the yellow on this edge and this edge, and I do want to sharpen up it back there. Perfect. I'm happy with how this is beginning to come out. Now, I do want to darken just this one side right here of the stem that's coming out, and this green is not quite dry, so I do see a little yellow in here. Oh, and I touched that green. I did exactly the thing I was trying not to do. I'm just going to take my little paper towel. It's always a good idea to have a paper towel handy and pull that up. I pulled that color up. I'll come back in with my yellow in there and fix that. But what I am seeing now, I'm going to pull this here. I got some magenta in my shadow that I did not want to get in there. Again, I want to darken up the background a bit. I'm taking Payne's Gray is what I'm doing right here to darken up this back area here to really set the darker the background becomes, the further forward the lighter colors are going to get. And as you can see, just by adding this Payne's Gray, we are really bringing the petals forward in a beautiful way. I love how this is coming. What do you think? Are you enjoying this too? I hope that if you are painting along with me, you are really starting to see the power of this darker background back here. And it's magical what's happening. I knew we would get there. But you know, if we had just stopped before putting in the magenta or putting in this background, it would have been stopping in the messy middle, and you would not have been pleased with the outcome, I don't think, if you had stopped there. So I'm so glad that we just kept going. Really, watercolor is the perfect mindset practice because it is just lots and lots of layers. It's all about embracing process over outcome. And gosh, when, for instance, me learning to be more patient with what I'm doing, all of that, it's all part of the process. And some of the shadow is still wet and it's touching this line and it's bleeding into my Payne's Gray. It's subtle, but I see it. You can probably see it too right there. And we are just, there we go. So as you can see, we've got these gorgeous orchids that have really taken shape. And I think I can come in here now and sharpen up this line. You might say, hey, I'm done here, but we can sharpen this up. We can make this just a little bit more rich, even by adding even more detail. It's really about not being afraid to just keep going, layer after layer after layer, even when you think you might be done. There's a little bit of red in the stem right down here. Do you see it happening? Just a touch of red. And I want to see if I can capture that. And I'm going to get quite a bit of just water right here. And letting that kind of be. And I'm going to bring it in right here. And what I'm going to do right here, it does get a little bit blue violet. And I do want to capture that. And I'm going to capture it here. And I see this happening here. So you can kind of see what that did. Now this, it's a darker back here, and I'm gonna bring in some Windsor green because I want to make it a darker green without making it blue. So that might be too blue. We'll see. Over here, I think I can fix that, which is where it was a little too wet. There we go. Okay, nice and really beautiful. I'm going to pick up my round 6 and I want to get my magenta, and I want to add quite a bit of water to my magenta so it's light, and I want to bring that in right here. It's just kind of setting that back a bit, and I see that happening here as well. And I'm going to continue with my magenta here, just kind of shadow setting it back. Oh, and this little problem spot over here. It's not really a problem spot. If I were patient, it wouldn't be a problem. But patience, as you might be learning, is not my strong suit. I just want to paint, kind of bringing it back in here. So that's setting it back a little bit, and maybe even just going like that. And I'm going to darken this up right here. Now this here is pretty strong shadow. I don't know that that's what it looks like because I did get some magenta in it, but I'm hoping that's what that looks like. I'm going to just kind of do a last little magenta in there to sharpen that up. And I think for the most part, this is complete. I'm gonna call this done, except I don't like that drip spot there. So close to done. Okay, so there we go. And I think we're gonna call this just done. So there you go, watercolor orchids. Now the really fun part, right, where we take off this tape. Do you love this as much as I do? Oh, it got in there. Do you remember what we do with that? So I'm just gonna take, when that dries, I'm gonna take a little gouache and I'll sharpen up that line right there. I'll take white gouache and just paint over that. We'll make that white again. Et voila! And we have these beautiful watercolor orchids. So there you go. That is how you watercolor orchids. If this happens to you, just get some white gouache. When it dries, go over it and fill in that line and make it a sharp line. And there you go. You've got it, watercolor orchid.